Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal. I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David, how are you doing tonight?
Good. Yeah, really good. 4-2 Oilers win. Bit of a second sloppy game in a row. Kind of a boring game, honestly. Seattle's a super boring team. Sorry, Seattle. And the Oilers played down to their level, I'm going to suggest. It's interesting, Bruce. In this, they've had a really good run, right, for the last 2 months,
Mm-hmm.
3 months, 2.5 months. They've been the best team in the NHL, I understand. But it's
Pretty
it's
right
funny.
there,
Last
for sure.
year when they went on that great run, um, it was marked by really great defensive play.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say this has been marked by outstanding puck possession. This run of play, where the Oilers have really come into their own as a puck possession team. But their defensive play, can sometimes be a little iffy. And we certainly saw that against Buffalo to a lesser extent tonight, although there was one streak there in the second period where they kind of fell apart.
Yeah,
So,
well, there was one sequence in the game of maybe 3 or 4 minutes uh, after the first TV timeout in the second period until Perry scored to make it 3-2. That was just end-to-end barn burning stuff. Great chances at both ends, and ending with that goal. And that I'm sure there was probably more chances in that sequence than there was in the entire last 30 minutes of the game after that.
yeah,
But
there was
it was
seven five
pulsating
alarm.
action there for a little bit of time.
Bruce, there was 7 5 alarm shots in that period of time, which was 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And in the rest of the game, 30 minutes, there wasn't one 5 alarm shot. So the second half of the game was just that's I think what I'm saying was a boring game. It really the Oilers did a good job of killing it off essentially, and it was quite a boring game in the end, which is good for the Oilers, I guess.
They won a lot of boring games in that winning streak too
They sure
last year.
did. Yeah, they did, and that
It's a
was good.
lot of 4-1, 3-0. Always low scoring, eh? Like they never scored. I think they won 10 straight games where they never scored as many as 5 goals.
Yeah,
The last 10 games of the win streak, but they never gave up more than like one or two, right? So,
the grade A shots were 11-10 for the Oilers, and the subset of 5 alarm shots were 6-5 for the Oilers. So a very low event game, except for that one um,
pulsating
8 minutes of
sequence.
8 minutes of mayhem. All right, Bruce. Two good things, two bad things, two numbers. What's your good thing?
Yeah, I'm going to single out Matthias Ekholm tonight. I thought he had a fantastic game. David, maybe I can trouble you because you'll have the document open and I haven't yet. How
Yeah,
many grade A's he was for and against, but I think four, quite a few.
six
Yeah,
six major
yeah,
contributions to grade A shots, plus an empty net goal, which was not a grade A shot. It was
right.
a grade C shot. So
Uh-huh.
six, and he made mistakes on grade A shots against just two.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah,
hell
well, I
of a
thought he was
all.
stellar
Yeah,
in this
he really
game.
was.
Uh, moved the puck, uh, made a lot of good passes, including a beauty lead pass to Draisaitl that led to the McDavid tying goal early in the second period.
Yeah,
But I just thought he had the puck on his stick, was looking up, was making making the headman passes. And that was one example of which there were several. But his defensive game, I thought, was fine, and especially on the penalty kill. The Oilers they were down 2-1, and they took two penalties in a row in the last 2 minutes of the first. And so they had a minute 10 of 3-on-5, which I think a bit luckily for them overlapped between the two periods. And Ekholm was just stalwart. He cleared the zone twice. He blocked a dangerous shot on the 5-on-3. And the Oilers in general, the penalty kill sort of dominated Seattle's quite tepid power play. But credit where due to the penalty killers. They just didn't give them a lot of space, and they got the shooting lanes, and whatever shot Seattle attempted didn't get through. and Eck was leading that charge, and he was, to me, a strong factor in all three zones, and 5-on-5 and on the penalty kill, and even late on the 5-on-6, where the Oilers are struggling to get the puck out of the zone, and finally Eck goes, "The hell with this noise," and he just hits a 7-iron over everybody's head and down and right into the middle of the net. Reminded me of when he got in the Dallas series. That was like that, where he scored from right in his corner and fired it all the way down and hit the target. Anyway, I just thought he stood out, and how else he stood out, David? Uh, 24 minutes and 42 seconds for Ekholm. That was 3 minutes more than any other Oiler. And he led the penalty kill with 4 minutes and 19 seconds, and also led even strength 20 minutes and 12 seconds. Like, he was a real workhorse in this game. He was feeling it. And I'll give the coaches credit. They responded to him feeling it, and they kept rolling him out over the boards. Other games lately, sometimes he's played, lesser minutes than the other guys in the top four. But this night, he was number one with the bullet, and deservedly so, because he was to me, the best Oilers skater in this game.
Yeah, I agree, Bruce. He was. He is such a fantastic hockey player. What an incredible trade. And to think that, like, Darnell Nurse is really playing well this year, and to have those two guys as your two top left defensemen, two great big guys who are excellent two-way hockey players at even strength, leading the way for the Oilers into the playoffs. I mean, they didn't have that last year because Nurse's game fell off a cliff. But they have it this year, and if they're both healthy, I mean, I think Nurse has outplayed Ekholm this year overall by a slight margin. And my good thing actually involves Nurse. There was a play at the Oilers net, Nurse got the rebound, and he looked up the ice. And lo and behold, I have not. You'll go to minor hockey league games, Bruce, and you'll see cherry picking like this. You don't often see such an obvious example of cherry picking as Corey Perry engaged in here, because NHL players, they don't allow it. They won't allow someone to sneak in behind them like that. But he ghost like, Rafe like, Corey Perry snuck in behind, and Darnell Nurse made a brilliant pass from the goal line all the way to the offensive blue line to Perry. Hit him, and Perry went in, charged right in then, and beat the goalie with a great shot. It was a fantastic play by both players. It was great, for Nurse recognizing that and seeing it. He probably couldn't believe it. And for Perry somehow creating that, I still don't know how he got that open. It's like those plays sometimes where the player they change and the player comes off the other end of the bench and gets wide open like that. But you don't often see it. I mean, I don't know how close the next Kraken player was to Perry when he got the puck, but man, he was as wide open.
He was literally standing there, eh? Like, he wasn't skating. It wasn't like he got hit with a pass where he skated onto it. He was standing there, but he was like a zone and a half behind everyone. Time enough that big old slow Corey Perry could coast in one-on-one with Joey Decord, and he played it nice, crafty move. Decord went for the poke check, and as soon as he did, Perry just sifted it right between his legs because the stick was no longer closing the 5-hole.
Yeah.
So guess where the puck went? Right through there and into the net. Game winner.
Our friend Murdoch Davis calls him Slowco. He calls Connor Brown Cobro. I like those nicknames, actually.
I think
Slowco and Cobro.
This disappearing act was maybe Corey living up to his name, or living down to his name, the Worm.
Wormed his way in there.
Buried himself below the ice level at the far blue line, and then popped up when Nurse got the puck.
They must have just been dying on the Seattle bench watching that unfold, because I'm sure they would have seen it and they would have started screaming. And because unless everyone was watching the play at the other end, but he just, I don't know, he was talk about blowing the zone. He blew two zones, and anyway, it was a great play by Corey Perry and Darnell Nurse.
Sure
And
worked
Nurse
out to
really,
be.
Bruce, if Nurse was named to Team Canada, I mean, if there's an Oilers defenseman right now who deserves to be named to Team Canada based on, let's say, their play from November 1st, Darnell Nurse has been the Oilers' best defenseman at even strength.
Certainly the best
Um,
Canadian defenseman.
best, I think their best Canadian defenseman since November 1st. Like his first month wasn't that good this year, but since
Right, about
November
10
1st,
games out.
he has been their best defenseman. At least according to our work, when we're looking at grade A shots for and against, he's considerably ahead of the other players of Bouchard and Ekholm, who are both. And I want to stress this because Bouchard gets so much hell. Bouchard leads the team right now in that category. His creation of grade A shots compared to his mistakes on grade A shots against. He is an infuriating player because he turns over the puck, and that really and it is an issue, but he leads the team. He's having a really really good year, Evan Bouchard, and I'll hold to that. But so are Ekholm and Nurse. They have three defensemen right now. They have the big three, and they're playing great hockey. And Kulak and Emberson are also playing pretty good hockey. Emberson has just shot right up in the last month. In terms of our grade A assessment, he's starting to create chipping in on all kinds of grade A shots, and he's still just really stingy giving them up. He's the most stingy the most stingy Oilers defenseman in that regard. Now he plays against third line competition. Generally speaking, Emberson, he's not in the top four, so that will impact that number. Like it's easier to put up good numbers, but yeah, just a great play there by Nurse and great finish by Perry. Bruce, what's your bad thing?
Yeah, I'll go with the first Seattle goal of
Yeah,
this game. And it was a microcosm of a bigger problem that the Oilers had tonight, which was um, puck maintenance and control. There was a few too many for my liking, kind of iffy plays and passes with the puck, soft plays in some cases with the puck. And in this case, the culprit was Connor Brown at the offensive blue line. The Oilers kind of had the pressure on, and Brown took the puck out to the blue line, and he tried to sift a pass through to Brett Kulak, who was trying to cut into the middle of the ice, through two guys.
not good.
Puck never got through. And Kulak is now behind both those guys. The other D-man, Emberson, is also behind both guys, and Brown was the only guy back who's in position to, take on the 2-on-1 that resulted. He played it just like a forward, sort of veered in, there's no backward skating here. He veered in towards the guy with the puck. He intercepted the first pass, but it bounced right back to him, and the guy got a second whack at it. And at the same time, the Seattle forward and Kulak were going pell-mell for the front of the net. And there was contact in the crease, first by the Seattle guy, I thought, on toe of Pickard's stick in the blue paint. And I think that's what the Oilers thought they might call. And then Kulak came barreling in and took down Pickard, which is what the refs saw. And they kind of said, well, that's what happened was the Edmonton guy pushed him in or whatever. And Pickard was able to somehow keep that one out. But then the follow-up guy was a Tolvanen, came and
Yeah,
cleaned up the rebound, and there was nobody left. And he just, including the goalie, like they were all down and out, and he just popped it in. And so there was some little bit of bad luck, but some bad puck management. And I just don't see the percentage in the play that Brown was trying to make. Say he
no,
slips it through the two guys there. What do you got? You got Brett Kulak at the top of the zone with the puck, and with your usual line mates, which is say Janmark, to pass it to. And what's
yeah,
likely to come out of it besides not a goal? Whereas what's apt to come out of a dangerous defensive play besides what did happen, which was a goal, because he coughed the puck up in that situation.
yeah,
So not great by him. Really not too great by Kulak. I thought, Knobloch challenged it, and I thought he had a case, but they went with uh,
Yeah, I think that maybe it
the
was
old
the right
rule: the
call.
more southerly team gets the call. You know how it is.
The Southland,
That's my
the evil,
standby.
the evil Southrons. Um,
That's my yeah. Well, there was minor contact, and I was watching the game earlier tonight, St. Louis and Vancouver. And the St. Louis guy went into the crease, didn't touch the goalie, and they called the goalie back for goalie interference, and St. Louis challenged. And again, the refs overruled it and said there was no goal. And that time, Vancouver got a power play and they scored on it. At least in this case, Seattle, when they got the power play, Edmonton killed it off without a lot of problem. I'll talk more
well,
about
the
the
most,
penalty kill in my numbers tonight, but there was. Um, that play was not a great way to start the hockey game. It was what, 3 or 4 minutes into the 3:37 into the
yeah,
first.
I didn't. I was praising Emberson earlier, Bruce, but I did not like him on that play. He was even when you watch the back check and the play developing. Emberson's right with Tolvanen, and he's but at the ringette line, as is the imaginary
Right,
ringette line,
post.
the top of the face-off circles. He starts to coast. He could have just kept skating and get him. He could have got him.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, and you see it often with NHL players. They get close and then they stop just before they can take the
He's not
guy's
going to
stick.
score. I got him.
Yeah, it's like I got him, but no, you don't. You don't have a stick. You don't have him until
Yeah.
you're on the right side of the puck. And he never got close to that. And it was a weird mistake from Emerson. I wouldn't have expected it from him, honestly, but it was a fairly major one. And
Yes.
maybe the most consequential mistake. Well, Brown's pass, of course, which I agree with you. Like, what is he? He
What's
was
the
thinking he
upside?
was Leon Draisaitl out there for a second. Not a Unless you
Yeah.
are Leon Draisaitl, not a good idea. All right.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
My bad thing is the second goal. Um, it was just a weird goal, but it's kicked off by a turnover by Evan Bouchard and out to the point, and there's a shot, and from there things just get haywire. This is the weirdest Californian you're going to ever see. It hits McDavid's stick, and
Hmm.
it's a double screen. McDavid
Yep.
and Perry are
Yep.
screening Pickard, and Perry's really screening him.
Yep.
But I still think Pickard makes the save if the puck doesn't dip, hit the ice, and then take a wicked spin. I'm sure it took one of the a weird, um, unexpected spin
Yes.
bounce past Pickard, right in front of him, and he just couldn't get
Mhm.
it because of it. So a lot of bad things, a lot of bad things came together there. But the worst probably was Bouchard's turnover, Bruce. And I'm just going to go to my numbers because it segues right
One
in,
of four he had on the night.
segues right into it. You were wondering when Nurse made that great pass, Bruce. You sent me a note saying like, how often has he done that this year? And we tracked that on grade A shots at least. Stretch passes that lead to directly to grade A shots. So
Hmm.
Nurse at even strength, and these are all even strength numbers, five on even strength numbers. Excuse me. Nurse has made 18 to lead the Oilers. And this is on a
Unreal.
team with Evan Bouchard. Bouchard has 15, Ekholm
Hmm.
has 13, Emberson has 7, Kulak 6, and Stetcher 2. But there's two other numbers here. So remember, Nurse has 18, Bouchard has 15. So I thought, what about their turnovers that have led to grade A shots against? So Nurse he's made 9 turnovers that has led to grade A shots against at even strength. Bouchard's made 25. So, in terms of a ratio and in terms of how we feel about these two players, I think that's a so the defenders of Bouchard quite rightly point out his outstanding passing of the puck. It's great shooting of the puck, great offensive zone play, but 25 turnovers that have led to grade A shots against it's one every second game. And Nurses had just 9. Ekholm's had 10, Kulak's had 12, Stetcher's had 4, and Emberson, Bruce, has had just 2 turnovers
Wow.
that have led to a grade A shot against. So he's 7-4 for stretch passes and 2 against, whereas
Nice.
Bouchard's 15 and 25. If you're a starting pitcher in the Major League Baseball, is a 15 and 25 record, no good. Nurse is 18 and 9 though, that's good. So yeah, if they pick Nurse for Team Canada, that would make sense to me. I just think I don't think he's going to get picked, but I think do they have four right shot D men already, or 3 right shot D men and Peter Angelo who
I
dropped
think
out?
they had three. I think they had four, and now they have three.
So maybe they could pick a lefty,
Yeah,
and
they'll pick
Darnell
Doubt. They'll
Nurse.
pick Doughty.
I,
I would think,
they
unless
probably will pick, unless if he's
he
healthy.
was
Like, is
he
he?
was so good for us in 2010. Like that was just recently.
That's 15 years ago, Bruce.
Yeah,
Man
I'm
alive!
aware. Yeah, well, he was
Wow,
great. He was 20 years old in those 2010 Olympics, and he was great.
he's great in
Uh,
2014. He's a great hockey player, but he's a little bit. He's been out all year. I don't think they should pick Doughty unless he comes back really strong. Maybe they're gonna. Is he even playing yet? I don't think he's even playing yet. So that'd be
no,
a
he's
real
still not
stretch.
playing. He's close, but I still wouldn't be surprised. And I like Uyghur out of from Calgary because he can play left side, and he's done a lot in his career. He's played in a few righty pairs where he's been the left side guy. So he's
All
got
that
that.
said, Bruce, I would
Yeah,
still pick Bouchard. If it was me and I wanted to win that tournament, I would still pick Evan Bouchard because listen, when he concentrates, when
yeah.
he's fully engaged as he was in the playoffs, he is an outstanding defenseman. And he wasn't he in the 2024 playoffs. Evan Bouchard was an outstanding defenseman, both on the attack and on defense. He was really getting it done in both zones, and based on that, which I think is a more significant tell about how he'll do in this tournament than kind of some lackadaisical play in semi-meaningless regular season, the drone and drain of regular season games. I'll go with how he played in the playoffs. I would pick him personally.
Yeah, I was making that case for him earlier, but in November, I thought that the team was picked so damn early. Like it seemed a little early to be excluding the guy that scored the most points of any D man in 30 years. But honestly, his play continues to leave me fairly cold. And I mean, we're now getting near the end of January.
Yeah,
And yeah. One Oilers fan on the internet made a good point that she couldn't tolerate the idea of all of Canada screaming at Bouchard when he made mistakes. She says, bad enough when we do it. And I kind of thought, yeah, I can see where you're coming from, David. Here,
I would still trust him personally. I would pick him. But anyway, I guess I'm
four
alone now,
four
Bruce.
turnovers tonight, one that led to a
Yeah,
goal.
I
Anyway,
know.
here's a related number to your stretch passes, sort of related. But stretch passes, when they work, like it did tonight, and the guy who receives it scores, that D man gets the first assist. And here's the first assist by the Oilers defenseman at 5-on-5 this year. Leaders Nurse with 10, Ekholm has 6, Emberson 5, Bouchard, Kulak, and Stetcher each with 2.
Wow.
Nurse is way out in front.
Is that
And
from Natural Stat Trick?
yes, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And when you do it as a rate stat, uh, per 60, so of course Nurse plays quite a bit more than some of the other guys. But again, you got Nurse at basically 0.7, Emerson about 0.5, Ekholm 0.4, and the other guys down at 0.2, 0.1. So like it's a big difference. Nurse way out in front. Like who saw that coming? You always hear people criticizing his passing.
Playing his
Well,
best hockey,
his
Bruce.
passing has been good. His decision
Yeah.
making, like his one touch passing where he gets it and he immediately passes it, he's been finding Oilers with those passes. And he just sort of, I think he's at his best when he flows, when he just sort of plays and lets the game play naturally. And when he's on his game, he's got, talent galore, as we've seen for years.
It
And
would
right now he's been showing it. And
it would be interesting, Bruce, if you could give Knobloch, Paul Coffey, and Darnell Nurse all truth serum and get them to talk about why he was so bad last year and what has made him turn it around. And I don't know, like they
yeah,
never. like I don't think Nurse would ever admit how bad he was. Maybe, but if he had truth serum, he would have to. Anyway, it would be really actually interesting to see to know the explanation for that, because he was terrible,
Mm.
Bruce, in the playoffs.
Our
He
numbers
was he
showed it, and
was
all the other numbers showed the same thing.
oh God, he was awful. And it was so bad, that there was games where he was barely okay, and that was a huge triumph if that was the end story for Nurse. But very few good games,
Yeah.
but now he's running off a string of he's just playing outstanding hockey, even strength hockey. So
He's
good for
good,
him.
good to excellent almost every game
Yeah,
for quite some time now. And
yeah,
some standout games and some games where he's just okay, but he hasn't
yeah.
had very many games where you sort of say, "Wow, that was a stinker," and whatever. Just haven't seen much of that.
Well, he shut
Uh,
up his critics.
mm, Starting to trend in that direction. I mean, if he keeps playing like this for another 5 years and wins 2 or 3 cups, he'll probably be all right.
He's got to play like this in the playoffs, honestly,
Yes,
to shut up his critics. He's
100%,
he's yet to have a great playoffs. So he's
100%.
got to. This is the year. He's got to step up and play his best hockey these playoffs. So let's see that happening. Well, I'll
Yeah.
be happy then.
His greatest playoff moment, well, not moment, his greatest hour in the playoffs was that night in Winnipeg when he played 62 minutes and 7 seconds in the triple overtime game. Oilers lost it to lose the series in 4 straight. He wasn't on the ice for any of the goals against. And then after that yeoman Herculean effort, he went home and his partner delivered his baby the next day. that, that was a day. And that was
His career started to
uh,
go downhill
yeah, that was
because he couldn't get
2021.
sleep at night.
That was his last game before he signed that contract, and he clearly left a pretty good impression. He had a really good year, and that was the
Yeah.
Silo year. And then he got hurt the next year, and it's been. But anyway, it's sure good to see him playing at the level he is now, because it makes a huge difference for the team.
Bruce, what's your number?
Yeah, my number is a real weird one. This is shots on goal during Seattle power plays tonight. Seattle had 4 power plays, 6 minutes and 50 seconds, including minute 10 overlap of a 5-on-3. And over that entire span, Seattle mustered exactly 0 shots on net, 0. And Edmonton had 3. Oilers outshot them 3-0, playing shorthanded for 7 minutes, or essentially 8 minutes if you count the double time. And then just to prove it wasn't a fluke, when it was a 5-on-6 at the end of the game, for a minute and whatever seconds, Seattle again mustered 0 shots, with Edmonton blocking several. And of course, Edmonton got the one shot that Ekholm golfed into the far net. So Seattle having the man advantage in this game was absolutely useless to them. They got nothing done, and the Oilers. I mean, the extension from this is that the Oilers' penalty kill was fantastic in this game. They weren't giving up the blue line. They were making good plays. They were clearing the puck down. They were making their changes, and they just had it going on. And when there was a puck around anywhere near the net, they cleared it out of there. And it was, I mean, Ekholm and Emberson each played well over 4 minutes on the penalty kill, and I thought they were stellar. And Emerson, he had a funky game with that one goal and a couple of turnovers, but man, is he ever good at clearing rebounds, dangerous rebounds, where he finds them and just fires them away to the boards, or neutral spot into the corner, out of the danger zone, where an opponent's just waiting there to wrap it in, and Ty gets it first and gets it out of there. And he had at least 2 tonight where I thought that's maybe a goal if he doesn't make that play.
Yeah.
And so, and now I can't tell you in this moment where any of those happened on the power play, but probably not, because there were no rebounds, because there were no shots. So it was a banner night for the penalty kill, which was very close to being my good thing. But I thought I'll take the top penalty killer because he did a lot of other stuff too.
Time to sign Emerson to a 3-year contract.
I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah. All right, Bruce. What's the next game is Thursday against Detroit, correct?
Next game is Thursday against Detroit. This was game number 50 tonight. So I got a 10-game package to look back on between now and Thursday, and go through that. And I think the Oilers were 7-3,
Yeah,
34,
I'm not
4,
sure.
26 against, something like that. Kind of standard fare for this club. They win 7 out
Yeah.
of 10 on the regular under Knobloch. It's been, more often than not, they win 7
He
over
got a
a
lot of
10-game block.
criticism today, Knobloch did, for his second line of Henrique, Arvidsson, and Podkolzin. And to be honest, I was wondering, who's going to carry the puck on that line? Who's going to carry the
Hmm.
mail? I don't like they didn't create a lot of chances. They weren't that good, but I find some of the criticism kind of over the top. Like Knobloch is clearly an exceptional coach. The way he has these guys passing the puck, the
Hmm.
increased defensive discipline on the team, um, and the development of players has all been really good under him. So anyway, people are free to have their own opinion. I don't mind the opinions. I just mind like when they, this coach is stupid kind of thing. Like, he isn't. He's really smart, and he knows what he's
No, he's
doing.
not. He
So
does.
yeah,
And it's, and that line, they didn't score, but they outshot. They
they did,
had,
eh?
yeah, yeah, they had the better of the play. I can't lie, I'm not seeing Arvidsson real good this last couple games, with his puck handling.
Oh, he's
Uh,
been trending down, Bruce. Like according
yeah.
to our stats too, like the grade A shots for and
Hmm.
against, he's actually crashed in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
So
I'm not
that's what
surprised.
you're seeing is reflected in those particular numbers. He was almost equal to Hyman in terms of that particular metric, and Hyman has been the best Oiler winger almost since the day he got here. But that line, you needed that line because, excuse me, they wanted to play McDavid and Draisaitl, and I think that was the right call for McDavid coming back. Put him with Draisaitl, load it up, and see if they can cause some real damage. I don't mind them doing that.
I didn't either. I thought it was the right call for Draisaitl too. Like he carried a lot of mail when McDavid was out, and then on Saturday he had for him a very poor game.
yeah,
And I thought, throw him a bone. Been
yeah,
waiting. You've been carrying the load for Connor. Now Connor's back. Let's just you two go out and overpower those guys. And they certainly created some stuff, and they even managed to draw one penalty in this game. First minute, that was it for power plays. But Draisaitl nearly scored twice on that power play. He rang the iron, and he
yeah, he
and
sure did.
he had fired a wicked shot off of Decor's shoulder. And so that was it for power plays for the Oilers.
Yeah. Some interesting news today about Klingberg. It seems like there's some immigration paperwork that's holding up his play, and I don't know what that's all about because it's not unheard of. We
Oh,
have
it's
heard
not.
of It's not unheard of, but it's like get it together. Like whoever made this mistake, and we don't know who it
Yeah.
is, where it's coming from, whether it's the immigration people or it was Klingberg's camp or the Oilers. Like
Mhm.
we all expected him, like he was supposed to play this week, and now it's like
Yeah.
maybe next week.
Let's hope it's not in the mail, eh?
Yeah, well, when I applied for my passport, Bruce, it took like 9 weeks
During the
for it to be
strike, eh?
renewed. No, it wasn't during the strike.
During
This was
stoppage,
before
no?
that.
Oh,
I just
really?
applied
Oh,
for my
wow.
passport, like you're online, mail it in, did everything right.
Oh,
9 weeks.
so. Well, sometimes you see these problems where a guy's playing these, on the other side of the border,
But he
especially
played in
guys that
Toronto last year.
I know. Well, that's where I was going with it.
Oh,
Like
okay.
sometimes you have guys that play their whole career in the States and they come to Canada and they go, hey, wait a minute, I don't have a visa for this. I got to, jump
Yeah.
through all these hoops. Well, literally, Klingberg played in Toronto last year. So whatever those hoops were, you would think, A, you've been there, done that, and B, if I'm going to be signing with the highest bidder, I better be ready to go on either side of the borders, and I think that's kind of on his agent a little bit. They
I,
should
I
have
think
that
it
kind of stuff taken care of.
I think it may well be, and we don't know. So let's leave it there. Bruce, thanks for talking tonight.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.